my name is Peace, and this is the story of how I, in bracket, we, planned an event that 500 people attended in Lagos, Nigeria, in 6 weeks. That's right. From thought, or rather from tweet to execution, happened in about 6 weeks. And I want to tell you guys the story. I think the story is very important because retrospecting is always a great thing to do. There are lots of lessons that I'm hoping to relearn as I say this, but I think also a lot of people have been asking. So this is how we did Founders Connect events. That's why this brochure is by my side.
Hey folks, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Itimi. I'm a multifaceted creator, a marketing professional, and a teacher, and I'm passionate about growing people and growing businesses. See, the goal is that anybody who comes across me or any piece of my content is inspired and or motivated to get better in your business, in your career, and in your life. As you watch this video, like and comment and share to your friends and family if you like it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Enjoy this video, and I'll see you. Peace.
So sometime in April, mid-April, I think around April 17th, I posted on my team WhatsApp group, Itimi Pro Max, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in Lagos in July, and I want us to plan the shoots we're going to do, but also an FC meetup." The context to that is that since I moved, every time I'm in Lagos, I always use an opportunity to shoot as many videos as I can because I find that it's much easier to schedule and find the founders that I want to interview for Founders Connect in Lagos than, trying to figure out when somebody's traveling or if they are in London or not. So I was like, hey, this is going to be an opportunity. Last time we were here, we did like 10 videos. So we're going to do at least as much as we can again. But I was like, but it would be nice to also do a meetup. So it was let's plan FC shoots, how I shoot, and then an FC meetup. Now, FC meetup is very important because it gives you a really great idea of how the thoughts started compared to what we eventually executed on the 8th of July. So anyway, so I jumped on the chat and Treasure was like, who's my A&R content lead, was like, oh, awesome. We'll start brainstorming what the event will look like. And then we didn't say anything about it for like a month. Then May 11th-ish, I started thinking about it. I was like, I'm actually going to be in Lagos in July. We should. I'd mentioned it to my friend Joyce, who's also on the team. And it was just like play here and there. And then Joyce went on Twitter and was like, Peace, Lagos, they hungry me. And I'm like, let's plan something that takes us to Lagos. So that was another key milestone. And then, but I wasn't still sure what the event was going to be or what it was going to look like. So I think around the 11th of May, mid-May-ish, I spontaneously tweeted, I think I'm going to frame that tweet. I was like, I'm thinking of holding an event, a Founders Connect event in Lagos. The problem now is who will sponsor it. I tweeted and I went back to work, literally. And then I opened Twitter like 2 hours later and I saw DMs. And the DM was, one person was offering me a venue. 2 people were offering me sponsorships, like actual, oh, how much are you going to sponsor? And I was like, I don't know. So I went back to WhatsApp group and said, I think I made a mess. Guys, we're going to do an event. And I was like, Teacher Andres, should we do like a rate card and let's plan events? And we just said, oh, maybe like the fee would be like from this amount to this amount, this range. And I started replying people, just little by little, little by little. By the next day, I had gotten so many interests. A lot of people on the thread had said, yes, we will attend. Somebody actually said, I would travel to Lagos for the event. And then I started having sponsorship conversations. One was a media company, New Central, who ended up being a media partner. One was from RiseVest, aka, who ended up being an actual partner. And then there was 2 venue conversations that we're having. One of the venues was going to be able to sit about 80 people. Another venue was going to sit about 200 people. 250 at max, right? And I was like, It was when I saw the venue that the capacity was up to like 250 on average that we said, okay, so could we do a potentially big event that wasn't a meetup anymore? But I said 250 is going to be a lot of number. So you know what? Let's actually gauge interest. So we did a Google form, and it was simply name, email address, and would you be interested in attending FC Live in Lagos? FC event in Lagos. There wasn't any live in it at that time. And then in 24 hours, we had about 400 people that had said, I will be interested in doing this. And I tweeted, oh my God, before I knew this, I'm going to 500. Then it got to 500. Then it was like 600. Then that's when I said, okay, it feels like we actually have to do an event. So the first thing that we did was looking for sponsors, which was a very weird way to decide we want to do an event. So obviously, sponsorship conversations were already happening from people who had sent me a DM. So I wanted to be able to follow up on that conversation. So Joyce, and Treasure spent about 2 days trying to put the presentation to the rate card together on Canva, then move it to slide. In my typical fashion, I was like, let's get it done today. And God bless Joyce and Treasure, like, please. We need to figure out what the sponsor benefit would actually be. So it took like an extra 2 days. Now, pay in mind that by this time, we didn't have a date. We didn't know how many people we're going to plan for. We had an idea of, we have 2 venues. One is about 80 people, one is about 250 people. But we didn't have a date. We didn't have speakers. We didn't have guests for live show. We didn't have content. All we know is that 600 people had said, plan an event. We had their email address. And then a few people have reached out from different places. I would like to support, I would like to support, I would like to support, I would like to support. That was all the signal that we needed. And so when the rate card was ready, I said, we're going to do this event August 5th. Because I think for really sensible people, if you're going to plan an event like that in Lagos, you need some time. So I said August 5th is going to be in about 10 weeks from there. So it gives us enough time to actually plan, find money, and stuff. So the first rate card actually had August 5th as the date. And that rate card also had that we're going to plan for 250 people. So we said about 600 people have filled, 500 people have filled this form so far. So we're going to plan for about 200 plus, half, because give or take, not everybody will show up. And I sent to a few people. And then the next day on the team, we're like, okay, August 5th makes sense, right? And then I think it was Torsi at the time that said, but August 5th is far because the hype would have died down. People will not be excited anymore. I'm like, okay, you make a good point. So let's do it in July. But the issue then was, so my core team, there's Joyce, there's Tito, there's Treasure, then there's Torsi, our honorary team member, Torsi. And so amongst all of us, we were like, what would be the perfect date? I knew that I was coming to Lagos for something that was happening on the 22nd. So I'm saying the weekend of the 22nd is out of it. So we can do before or we could do after. Now the team has said August 5th will not work because it's too far. So we then had 29th, but we're also considering 15th. Then we realized Lagos Startup Week is on the 15th. And I'm like, I don't sure that it would be nice for us to split people's attention on that day. So we had 29th, and then we had July 8th, because again, August 5th was too far. Very interesting space. So the issue was then, what will be the day that works? Now there was Tito who said, oh, July 29th, I think I won't be around. Between the team, the entire conversation was what date works for each person. I'm like, I'm flexible, you should just let me know. I'm going to spend 3 weeks in Lagos anyway. But the team has to be around. So what works? So we started voting. I think I actually did a WhatsApp poll between July 8th and 29th. That's how, so we didn't pick here it is. We didn't pick July 8th out of a divine inspiration. We picked it from a WhatsApp poll as per what is most convenient for the members of Founders Connect team. My issue was July 8th was too soon, and I was very nervous about it. Joyce was very confident that we can do it. I was very nervous. 29th felt like a better date, but then it didn't feel like it was going to work for so many people. And so after like a lot of back and forth, we now said, we had the 2 dates. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to meet some people that I think I want to be guests at the event. I'm going to give them 2 dates. July 8th and July 29th, and whichever date the first person picks and says yes to, that's the date we're going to roll with. So 29th, yeah, maybe I think Joyce might not be able to make it. 8th would mean that we have to do this event in 6 weeks, which I don't like, which I don't want, but we'll figure it out. And so I went to it July 29th to Mr. Mitchell, and I went with that same date to Auntie Funke. And both of them came back and said, July 29th will not work for them, they will be in town. Then I responded back to Auntie Funke and said, oh, I'm also considering moving the date up to July 8th. And she said, I will be in town, I would love to attend. I came back to the team and said, Auntie Funke is going to do this. She was the first guest I closed. And so we're going to do this July 8th. And by the time we set that date, it was literally exactly 6 weeks. So I went back to everybody else on a red card and we changed the dates to July. Because there's some people that kept asking me, oh, this event is in August. I said, sorry, we'll move the event back by almost a month, which means sponsors who were thinking, oh, I will have some time to pay money, we were saying, no, we need to close all of our commitments in the next 2 weeks. So we had one guest, we had a date. We now needed other things. We needed sponsors, we needed venue. After venue came decorator, and then we needed speakers as well, right? So like most of the guests. And then we also needed to figure out paid versus free event. So we launched the event, we announced the event officially, opened up a ticket, I think on the 6th of June, either the 4th or the 6th of June. But before then, we sold tickets in about 30 days before the event. So I remember we had 6 weeks. So we had 2 weeks where myself, Joyce, and Treasure, and Tito, and Torisi. And by this time, I think Ridwan and Izzy had joined the team. So we had opened a different WhatsApp group where we're trying to figure out a bunch of things. So we started doing this weekly Sunday sprint where we'll have a call and we'll figure out what are all the things that we need to check out to make this event a success. So the key things I figured that we needed to do to actually announce the event was I needed to close most of the speakers because we need them on the design. Which I realized that we probably didn't even need to have all of them, but I will tell you the lessons we've learned. So we needed to close speakers. We also needed dates checked. Then we needed venue. Those 3 things. And then we needed to figure out paid versus free. Speakers was the surprisingly easy part. It was easy to kind of think about, for the live interview, who have I not interviewed yet that I would like to interview? And I had a couple of names. I reached out to a few people. Not everybody said yes. But then Tayo did. Funke did as well, so live interview checked. Then we started thinking about what are other things that people think about. Anyway, the speakers came in very easily. It was, for most people, it was a text message here, and mine was yes. All was sure. And by this time, I didn't tell anybody what their topics would be, especially for those who were doing keynotes at AMA. I just said, hey, I'm doing an event, I would like you to speak. Somebody said yes. I said, okay, cool. I'll put the date on your calendar and I'll come back in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to tell you what the topics was. So speakers was easy. And then somebody reached out I used to work with, Ara, and said he was going to design. So we said, okay, cool. We have a designer as well. So let's start doing speakers. Then me and Joyce now started finding venue all over Lagos. Joyce most of the work, actually, because I was we need a good number. So we reached out to, so by this time, we had gotten up to 1,000 registrations, pre-registrations. So we figured, instead of doing that meetup, instead of doing a 200-person event, maybe we could plan for maximum ever 300. And let's shoot our shot and find a venue that can sit up to 300 people. So which means that the 2 free venues that we got, we were not going to be able to do them. We're not going to be able to use them. So we went to, the big venues, the Landmarks and the Federal Palace. There's one other venue that we went to on the island here. And we're sharing 3 million, 3.5, 8 million. And then Zone came and it was much lower than all of this. And I said, it's our first event. We can't be competing with people that have been doing events for years. Let's just take our small budget and go to the mainland. And that's how we ended with the Zone. And they also had free time for our space. So we then announced and said, okay, so we have venue, we have dates, we have most of the speakers locked. They don't have topics, but at least they said yes, that they'll be available on the 8th. So that was good. Then free or paid. I think I wanted a free event, mostly because in retrospect, I have gravely underestimated the Founders Connect brand. So I'm I don't know that people would pay to attend a Founders Connect event. We've never done an event. We've not done anything physical in Lagos ever before. But then we also have 1,000 people who pre-registered in a few days. If we open this event, we're going to get a lot of people who are going to pre-register as well. How do we control the crowd that we end up getting, and how do we make sure that people who register will actually show up as well? And so we started thinking about making it paid. And then we kind of said, I think 1K, and then 1.5, and then we're like, okay, 5K. And I was like, oh, 5K is a lot too. People pay for 5K. And then in between all of this, I've been looking for what all the elements are going to have at the event. And so I said, we want people to have food. So I reached out to Indian Life. I reached out to Forward at Indian Life. And then we had done all the back and forth, and they had prepared their meal box and said the meal box was cost 4,000 naira. And I'm like, people are going to do 4,000 naira plus 5K ticket, 9K. I was like, this is not going to work. I'm like, nah, we're not going to do this. People should just come as a vendor. Whoever buys food on that, buys food on that day. I'm sorry, Lagos people. I think I underestimated how much money people have. So we had 5K, and then we ended up finalizing. I think Tito and Treasure, like most of the events, 5K. We ended up at 5,000 naira. And then the nights before we were supposed to do it, Jess and I had like a long call. And I was like, we're like, this Indian Life money will not be. But I said, you know what? I don't think that people will buy the pro ticket at 9K, but let's experiment. We can put up the pro ticket and put up normal ticket. And at the end of the day, it will not be because we didn't try. We'll see how many people end up buying pro ticket. But I'm like, I don't think it'll be good. Just like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, let's shadow it. And then on that same call, we decided, what if we opened up pre-registrations and did a promo to people who have pre-registered? Like, what if we did like early bird promo, like extra early bird promo? And then when I started writing email copy, now said, this is how many percent we'll do discount for. And I don't think anybody else in the team knew this. We just 1 hour call, decided to add pro tickets, decided to do 30% discount, and I now wrote on my notepad that we're going to announce it 12 noon the next day, and I said 100 registrations by 12 noon the next day. And I sent the screenshot to Joyce, and Joyce was like, from your mouth to God's ears. I remember seeing that your message, and I said, Joyce is not even adding her faith to mine. She's leaving all of it on my own mouth and saying from my own mouth to God's ears. But I said, okay, let's go, 100 registrations. And then I sent the email, and I was so nervous, and then like 5 minutes, I saw first ticket, second ticket. I counted the first 10 tickets. Then I said, okay, at least people are buying. And then just before I slept, it was like, and that was like around 7 p.m. Before I slept, it was like 20 something tickets sold, I think. I had 28 or 18, I'm not too sure. But it wasn't the high number. So I now started reducing my expectation. I was like, God, okay, by the time I wake up in the morning, let's do 50 tickets sold. That'd be 40 tickets sold. I think it was 50. Because I'm like, that 100 I was trying, I was kind of being a bit too optimistic. I woke up in the morning and we had past 50. And I'm like, gosh. And at my noon, it was like, by 11 o'clock that a.m. that day, it was like around that 50. By 11:30, I'd seen like 80. 11:45, like literally between 11:50 and 12 noon, we sold like another 25 tickets. Like people just realized that this noon is actually serious. And bam, the first 100 tickets were sold. I'm like, okay, event's actually happening. And our media partners did all the announcements, and it was nice. And we figured, tickets to sell. Not sell out, but tickets to sell. And I think something else that I learned from that experience was that people were buying pro tickets. More people bought pro tickets than they bought regular tickets. I remember I was underestimating that nobody would buy food 4K plus 5K tickets. But people said, and I'm like, wow, what if we didn't put this up and we just told Indian Life to shop, and then we won't have been able to like add that part of the event. So anyway, tickets moved on. Speakers good, so venue good, tickets good, dates good. The next thing was then, actually, we have to plan the actual event as per what does the experience look like. We had to figure out like all the sponsors. First of all, we have to collect money from sponsors. We have to close for the budget that we had. We have to figure out their actual benefits. We had to actually figure out decor of the venue, vendor for the decor of the venue. We had to figure out the agenda. We had to figure out the things we're going to print. We had to figure out every other thing. Well, I had to also figure out the topics that the speakers would actually speak on. By this time, it was already 3 weeks to the event. Now, if I move forward, I would say that we closed on how the event venue was going to look about 4 days, about a week before the event. And I know that I sent money just within that 1 week. So by that few days to the event, I'm already like, we are kind of really doing this event venue, like printing, design, printing, and actual implementation of how it will look in like 4-5 days. But before that 4-5 days, 2 weeks, I think that is the singular hardest part of the event. Now, all the things I thought was going to be easy, speakers, getting venue, people buying tickets, setting a date, were easy. We did that in days, hours. Found venue, okay, how would the event look? How much will it cost to do the event the way I actually want to do it? How much does printing actually cost for all the things that we wanted to print? For instance, we ended up printing like a brochure for 540 people. We did a tote bag. We did a couple of other merch boxes for over 500 people. I don't think that when we were dreaming about it, we realized that these things actually cost money. I think I used to feel like venue comes with LED screen and comes with roll-up banners and comes with stage, everything, until we start saying budget, and I'm seeing 1 million naira here, 500K here, 700K here, this one here. There's probably like at least 7 days in the 6 weeks that I was probably saying we should have not tried to do an event as big as this because it would cost too much money to do it. And I do not want to go back to go and start finding like new sponsors because we all underestimated the budget that we wanted to do. So it was a lot of back and forth. But we sure did it. We went through a few vendors for both prints, went through a few vendors for venue as well, but we found it. And we did this weekly Sunday sprint so that every Sunday, myself, Joyce, Toyosi, Tito, Treasure, Easy, Ridwan, we'll have like in an hour, we'll have like a 90-minute call, and we'll go through a list of all the things that we wanted to do and who owns them. So if his piece needs to record a video, it'll be assigned to me. Ira needs to design. Ira designed so many things from day one. Ira needs to design social media and banner. Ridwan needs to write an email for pre-registration. Tito needs to do this one. Toyosi needs to go to this venue to go and check something, or needs to actually do volunteers form. Just needs to call this, like even down to you have to call this person to check up on them, or have like all of those lists together. And then by the next Sunday, we'll do, what has everybody gone through? What are the blockers? And we'll do it again. So it was like a proper project. We all work in tech, most of us. So it was this is a weekly sprint kind of thing. And everybody had their clear roles. And I think that's probably one of the best things that we did that made the event go as it should, because everybody knew what they owned. Like everybody knew that this was my own part. And a great part of that as well is that 3 of them were writing exams in between. Shout out to Treasure, Tito, and Ridwan, and Joyce. 4 of them. They're writing exams in school, and actually like still pulling their weight. And then the rest of us, me, Easy, Ara, Toyosi, had our normal 9 to 5 that we had to report for work. And we're still doing this event. There were times when I said, God, if you're going to sack me at work, is this week they will sack me? Because Founders Connect was so consuming for a bit that I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about it, I'm waking up, I'm thinking about it. I'm not telling myself, peace, no way I'm paying you for. You have to actually do these deliverables. And I feel like there's like 2 weeks in between that my entire life routine was just non-existent because I was trying to keep up. And it's something around just being over interested in a project that once I hone in on something I want to do, I would just start going and going and going and going. But it was really helpful to have like someone to sort of like banter with. So yeah, I think the hardest part was that 2 weeks of trying to figure out venue logistics. And then the great thing was that the event was a collection of mine. So we planned we planned the topics together. We planned the content on the brochure, like how we're going to do networking. So I just say, hey, let's do a bingo, let's do this one card. We don't be like, oh, we should have this part of the event. And Torres would be like, let's do this. And when we're doing volunteer application, we had like, how many volunteer applications did people get? 200 and something. Just came to the group and said, I've closed it because someone as if they're applying for a job that we're not paying them for. And then we're going through, everybody's going through their own team members list to make sure that we actually pick like the right people. So we actually picked, at the end of the event, right, we looked at and said, the team of volunteers that we actually picked were so good. Like they were very passionate, they were very responsible, they really wanted to work and put up a great show. And I think a large part of that was that we found the right people from the 200 plus applications that we got. And that was like, Teresi was telling me the other day that I have learned HR work because I literally went through the application to find how would this person actually like fit into the dynamics of what we're trying to do. I think something else that contributed was also just being very clear about the what we're trying to achieve. From the first time we got in the call, I talked too much. I spent like more than 30 minutes explaining this is the vision for the event. And mind you, by that time, I didn't even completely know what the vision was going. And I think just being clear about the vision, even when I didn't entirely know like what it was. Like by the time I was having the volunteer call, I was very clear about the kind of experience that we wanted to create and what the elements of the event would be. But at the beginning, I just kind of knew that I wanted it to be different. I know that this was not going to just be a podcast live show and just like interview somebody and people go. I also knew that I didn't want it to be a tech conference where people come and they do what they do at tech conference and we have multiple panel sessions and people are just asking questions on stage. I didn't want it to be a typical tech conference. I also wanted people to have fun. I kept saying that I see the event as a fusion of a conference, but also a festival and a live show. So it's like 3 things in one. So that was very clear. And so I think the more I communicated, the more everybody said, okay, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to pull off something that people have probably never seen before or have not experienced in the way that we wanted to pull it off. So that was really clear. And then something else that contributed was everybody knowing exactly what they own and what they were responsible for, whom they want. So if we're saying we need to send email, we don't need to ask who would write the email. We know that everyone is writing the email. If we said, hey, we want to figure out like a marketing strategy, we're not thinking of who would do it. Easy knows that she's the one that's doing it. At some point where Treasure was busy with exam, Torres was stepping up to say, I'm going to post on social media. If it was something that had to do with like operations, we all know that Joyce is going to handle it. If it was something that had to do with sponsors or speakers, or any big idea, like, okay, Peace will actually have to do this part. If we're going to do a video, Tito was, like everybody, it was very clear what everybody in the core team owned pre-event, and that also translated to what they owned during the event as well. And so I think that was also some of the elements I did. Things that I think did not, well, by the time we moved with all of the venue, we ticked it out, Jess and I had spent 2.5 weeks going back and forth with who eventually helped us do the design and saying we need to see the venue multiple times. We're doing video calls of the venue with Shalom and Treasure saying, show us what this thing looks like and show us what this thing to look like, because we can't come to Lagos right now, but we need to be able to see how the Emerald Hall looks like and how this hall looks like and how this one looks like. And then we had said, we're not going to pay for anything until we see exactly what the design is going to look like. So we had to do a 2D image, and 2D image that we first did not come out well. And the curator was like, oh, but don't worry, it will come out well. I was like, not gonna work. You will go back, spend another 2 days, you will redo it exactly how you think you're going to implement it down to the colors until we see it and we can hold you to it and say, this is the visuals of what we expect and this is how you're going to do it. We're not going to pay for anything. And they were really patient and we did all of the back and forth and eventually settled on the design, which, if I do say so myself, came out looking really nice. Really purple, really on brand, but also like really amazing. And then today, so the event, Jess and I traveled. Jess came first. And I remember that week, I just kept saying, I feel like we're cutting it too close, because who gave us the audacity to be trying to plan an event from London and we are still not on ground 42 hours to the event. We're not on ground 1 week to the event. People were asking me from like 1.5 weeks to the event, Peace, are you in town now? Like everybody expects that if you're going to do something like that, you must actually be on ground. And I kept just having anxiety, like, oh my God. But we did it, right? We came in Thursday and then we came in on Friday. I just came on Thursday, I came in on Friday morning. And then we spent the entire Friday at the venue with a bunch of volunteers, just trying to set everything up. So like for us, I think the event properly started on Friday morning, and just making sure that everything was going, and all the things that could go wrong from just when I was on my way to the airport with speakers and with few things started going wrong. And I said, you know what, we're going to have prayer chain. I think I started on Thursday night, because at some point I was like, we're going to hand this over to God, because some things that were closed were now seeming like they don't want to be closed anymore. And so we started praying about it, because hey, I need to hire power when I need to. And then we came in, spent all Friday at the event venue, set it up, came back home, and then we had delivered our merch from our partners and our tote bags. And then there's like a bunch of us, myself, Shalom, my friend Anne Ogena, who then spent like 4-5 hours that night trying to put the brochure and merch into like 540 bags. Like, literally came back home, we're done for Friday. Instead of going to have beauty sleep or whatever it's called before Saturday, we spent hours just trying to put in things in our tote bag and making mistakes and having to start again. So I came back and said, my volunteers shirt, people have put it inside some bags and I've given it. So we have to start finding all the Founders Connect volunteer shirts afresh. And then doing that and sleeping around, like, I think I slept around 3 a.m. and then waking up and then going to the venue. And a few things making us start late. But again, I think if there's one thing that I was sure that people that attributed to the event, again, and I've said this a couple of times, it was organization. Because even by the time we had like a 40-member team from 7 of us at the beginning, and we had a bunch of volunteers, everybody knew who their team lead was. If you're in operations, if you're in logistics, if you're in registration, if you're in media, if you're in social media, everybody knew who their team, if you're in speaker management, they knew who their team leads were, and they knew what their responsibilities are. That for the last 2 days before the event, all I was seeing flying on all volunteers group was a Notion page. I was told us she has written like a long document. She will share it on her own group. Easy to write speaker management list. All you're supposed to know. Long document. She said on her group. Just write operations. This is all you want to know. Notion pages were just flying everywhere, like, because we were documenting things for volunteers, and they were also taking and reading information and asking questions. And so that morning, we got it done. And just before I went to stage, I was so anxious because I was trying to write welcome address, but the address did not agree to be written. Because again, there were speakers who were running late, and and a few things that was like, where's this, where's Michael, is that? But by the time I went on stage, and it happens all the time, moving for these videos, I wouldn't want to say, and now I've talked too much. You kind of get on stage, and I feel like the event kind of just went. But I know that I did not know that the event was going well until I started seeing people talk about the event. It was one of those things where speakers were speaking really nicely. I was like, okay, good. When I got on stage to do my live interviews, I was like, okay, it's what we do on Founders Connect. I hope people like it when it's live versus when it's just recorded. But I did not know, like, I hear people like, someone said the event was truly magical. Someone said it was a powerful, packed event. Every single aspect down to your brochure and registration of food was good. But I don't think that my experience, and I don't speak for my team, but I don't think my experience was the same as everybody else, because all I did for the entire, I don't know, maybe 8 hours of the event was panic. Panic that we are running behind time, and so speakers have come too early, so I have to apologize to them. And they're like, no, peace, is okay, we're just gonna chill. Or panic that, you know, someone is on stage and people are making noise at the back, and I'm saying, hey, can we, like, I was panicking for tiny things all through, but everything still went well because everybody knew where they were supposed to be. And I think at some point we just kind of left it in the hands of God and said, we have done our best, and as a team, we're just going to have fun. And so by the time we were rounding up the event, by the afternoon session, and I saw that the hall was still full, people had not left. And then we did tire session, and then we did audio session, and they were still doing Afro, and people were still there. People were there until closing address, and people were still there after closing address. And I started getting lots of tags, and I realized, wow, we have pulled off something magnificent in 6 weeks as a very small team of like 7 people which 4 of them were writing exams for their lives, and 3 had full-time jobs. But we just put our heads together every Sunday and said, hey, we're going to make this work. And we did make it work. There are definitely a few things that we'll do differently. Very, very tiny things. Like how the networking session came. Even like that was an inspired idea that morning where we already said we're going to the networking session. And I was speaking to the MCs that morning, I'm like, this thing won't work. And I ran to Tito, I said, Tito, do you have sound? Tito said, what am I using sound for? I said, 60-second alarm clock. He said, do you just mean find a sound and play it every 60 seconds? I said, yes, okay, I can find any sound on the internet. But just even preparing, maybe making that longer. How we handled food, we could have done that better. That was, by afternoon, I was stressed. I was trying to eat and I saw our second hall getting crowded. And I'm like, yo, we're about to ruin everybody's experience. Just started running head skater. Me, I started running. Everybody was just going left and right. But we also still managed to figure that out in time that nobody complained about. I don't think anybody has any complaint about any aspect of it. So that's something that we'll do differently. We'll do networking a tiny bit differently, just to give people maybe more room. We would ensure that, you know, our venue has enough space for our sponsors as well. But for the most part, what bothers me is not the amount of things that we have to do differently, but the event went so well that there's a lot of pressure about how next year's event will be. And people are already asking, somebody said, she's going to be around that one this year, we can do twice a year. And I'm like, calm down, it's been less than a week. So we have like a very high bar, but I'm super confident and I'm really blessed with an amazing team that I know that we will keep setting up the pace. Like we'll keep doing it, we'll do it really well. So that's how we plan Farmers Connect events. A lot of long 2-hour calls on Sundays. We had like 30 groups at some point. We had a group for every sponsor. We had a group for every volunteer team, basically FC community. A lot of ownership for people who wanted to be part of this event. And a lot of good grace as well, even from speakers, because even when I went to meet speakers and say, hey, I don't know what topic I want to give you, but this is the essence of what I want you to talk about, and we are kind of brainstorming on what topics have been. So I'm super grateful. So that's our plan events. Before I end, let me give a very special shout out to every single person. I've mentioned their name like a lot of times, but I think I should mention their name well, with a lot of respect. There's Ridwan, who calls himself the baby of the house. And Ridwan handled all of the email marketing that happened pre and even post the event, and a lot of social marketing strategy as well, and social media creation, posting on Twitter and Instagram on that day. And then there's Easy. Easy led the marketing team, like the marketing strategy at the beginning, handled all of that, became our speaker, speaker personnel for the events as well. So sent email to speakers, making sure they know what their session entailed. When speakers were coming, call them to make sure that they came on time. Manage every speaker throughout the event, making sure that they wanted to be at the hall, she would see them right away. If they want to go to the green room, she would be with them. They want to interview them for the Vox Pop. Like Easy was the babe. I think people remember Easy more than they probably remember me, especially from the speakers. And then there's Tito, who is our head of media. Every videography, including this one that you're watching right now, the photography, Tito led the entire team. I remember when Tito shared his documents and was doing camera A, camera B, camera C. This person stand on the left, this person stand on the right. I'm like, I don't even need the details. Like, go figure it out. The equipment that we have, projector, the sound for the networking session that some people liked a lot. Every single part of media, that rested a lot on Tito's hand, and I'm just so grateful that there's someone as brilliant as that I could say, hey, media is a key part of the event and what shows. Like, I didn't even see what was going to show on the LED screen until that morning, but Tito was like, I'm handling it. And then there's Treasure, right, who was following me around, who does double work. She does EA work, and she does content marketing work as well. And her first point of call that day was that I must eat. She literally dragged me at some point and said, please, if you don't drink this hot chocolate, you're not going off stage. I'm like, yes, ma. But she did that really well as well. And she helped with everything. So literally everything that I was doing, Treasure was doing. And also doing BTS for a day in my life for that day. And still managing our Instagram as well. And still reading all of the things that we needed to do. That was Treasure. And also pre the event as well. networking cards, prompts, networking bingo that a lot of people loved. She just sat down and said, this is how we're going to write it. Even my welcome address, she first of all did it. Like, Treasure is superwoman. Then there's Tercy, my very first FC staff, if I may. And Tercy managed all of the volunteers. She was our in-house HR, as always. Like, it's a thing. Tercy is in charge of logistics and people, right? So handling all of the volunteers, even though everybody had we had maybe 7 teams, but the general volunteer manager was Tercy. And just seeing the quality of volunteers that we ended up having, I'm super impressed with the way that she picked it, the questions that she asked them, and just going through them as well, and making sure that everybody knew what they did. Handling registration, people seeing people smile, giving them their tote bags, making sure people had food, managing vendors, managing sponsors at events as well. Tercy was there. Visiting some venues when Joyce and I couldn't. Tercy, she did a lot of work, so I'm very appreciative. And there's Joyce, who does everything and anything in between. And the event will literally not happen happen this way if Joyce is not yeah, I'm keen into this vision. Let's actually get into it. There's so many calls that Joyce and I had in the 6 weeks of the event, so many decisions that we made. She has more patience than I am, so so many people that I wanted to say, God will punish you, but just hold it together. So there's no one thing I can say that Joyce did, because Joyce did everything, literally every part of the event. Even the things that I did not know was happening, it was happening because Joyce's hand was involved. So we call our resident mommy, producer, operations manager, logistics manager, and everything in between. That was Joyce. And there was me, who was just being a baby girl on stage, and making sure that the experience and the content of the event was really good, and I think it was. So thank you guys. I hope that if you attended Founders Connect Live in Lagos, I know that you had a good time. I tweeted the other day or posted on Threads, that nobody has asked me how the event went, because everybody that have texted me about the event has said, congratulations, I saw that the event was successful. I haven't seen one person that said, how was the event? Even my mom, who is not on social media, said, I saw something, that the event went really well. So I know I'm really confident to say that the event was a success, but we might have done our part. If you guys did not attend, if we didn't fill up the room, people were begging for tickets, people were asking to pay double and triple for tickets. For everybody that bought tickets within the first 1 week, that made us sell us really fast and came very early for the event and stayed all through. Myself and my team were immensely grateful to you guys for showing up. We'll do this again, May 2024. So make sure that you start planning to attend much bigger event. And that's my story of how myself and my team planned FC Live event in 6 weeks.